I don't think such things exist in the UAE. Because if it did, we would all know. Is there any podcast that we know that's so impactful that we don't know? It doesn't exist in the UAE. Daddy of the CEO, Joe Rogan's podcast, everything's in the US. Why can't anything be here? Why can't we have interesting conversation to Gen Zs?
Globally, the only voice that I'm hearing is from the north or from specific sectors in the north. And so what I would love to hear more about is I want to give everyone else a platform to share their voice. I want to hear their story, and I want to hear from every corner of the world, whether they're in business or whether they're building a podcast or building anything. I want to hear their story, and I want to see everything behind the scenes. I don't really care about the success stories only, because that's only one side of the story or conversation, and that's the end. That's the end goal. And I would love to have a podcast that helps me feel a bit more validated in my struggles and allows me to understand that I'm not alone, that there's a lot of other people that are going through this and that are climbing but are struggling with that climb.
I wish there was something that I can look up to in the UAE. There isn't. I listen to podcasts when I'm in the gym, when I'm walking on metro. It's all Daddy of the CEO, Modern Wisdom, Joe Rogan's podcast, iced coffee hours. Everything in the US. There is literally nothing in the UAE.
Yeah.
Why can't we be the one who create those things? Two Gen Zs who have some interesting startups that just likes to talk.
The question is, what are we working on? And more importantly, why do you want to work on something together?
Okay, I'll tell you why. Make money, I'm correct. One of the things I love about technology, like 100 years ago, you are not in rooms where they have interesting conversations from where you learn a lot from. Yeah. It's impossible for you to get into those rooms, get into those meetings where people that have some sort of success is subjective, but at least material success in life.
Yeah.
If they have material success, that means they know something that you don't know. So it's always good to hear what they have to say so you can learn from them and implement it in your own life so you can get to where you want to get to. So with that being said, I don't think such things exist in the UAE. Because if it did, we would all know. Is there any podcast that we know that's so impactful that we don't know? It doesn't exist in the UAE. Daddy of the CEO, Joe Rogan's podcast, everything's in the US. Why can't anything be here? Why can't we have interesting conversation? Two Gen Zs speaking, we were having this conversation a few hours back when you said Gen Zs are the ones that are gonna inherit this next generation. Like boomers are gonna have $3 trillion, you said, right? $3 trillion.
Actually, it's 300. The wealth transfer is it's obviously very difficult for you to guesstimate, but it's anywhere between 30 trillion to 300 trillion dollars worth of assets that will be transferred over from the previous generation, of the boomer generation, over to our current millennials and Gen Z.
Oh wow! If then that's happening, it's Gen Z is gonna take over, and we can all admit that we are pretty clueless. We have to have those conversations where they can learn more, how they can manage the next generation, uplift them. It's like what he said, galvanizing the next leaders.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we make that happen? It's by having these conversations and sharing to the world so they can learn from this. I wish there was something that I can look up to in the UAE. There isn't. I listen to podcasts when I'm in the gym, when I'm walking on metro. It's all Daddy of the CEO, Modern Wisdom, Joe Rogan's podcast, iced coffee hours. Everything in the US. There is literally nothing in the UAE.
Yeah.
Why can't we be the one who create those things? Two Gen Zs who have some interesting startups that just likes to talk.
And I feel like the problem is, and this is why I love where we can just also now, as we build into this podcast, we can build off each other as well. And I think the intention is also to allow the audience to be part of this ideation process where we get to figure out our stuff. We also get to figure out if we are allowed. What I care about the most is, despite all the content coming from a single source, content might still be, capturing the audience and pushing a specific narrative. But the problem is it localizes the knowledge base. And it basically means that there's only so much information that they can have and convey into a global audience based on their unique experiences within one corner of the world. And the issue that I have is, it's not only the fact that the UAE doesn't have a voice, but globally, the only voice that I'm hearing is from the north or from specific sectors in the north. And so what I would love to hear more about is I want to give everyone else a platform to share their voice. I want to hear their story, and I want to hear from every corner of the world, whether they're in business or whether they're building a podcast or building anything. I want to hear their story, and I want to see everything behind the scenes. I don't really care about the success stories only, because that's only one side of the story or conversation, and that's the end. That's the end goal. Every one of us, and I mean, the fact that 99% of the businesses that fail are generally failing before they get to that end point, we don't actually have a platform for entertaining or facilitating the conversation around how does it actually feel to be grinding your way as you climb. And I would love to have a podcast that helps me feel a bit more validated in my struggles and allows me to understand that I'm not alone, that there's a lot of other people that are going through this and that are climbing, but are struggling with that climb.
Bro, I have a very interesting take on this here.
Yeah.
You nailed it. When you said that, the thing is, we want to feel relatable.
Yeah.
We want to feel like we are not alone. I was reading this book by Vanessa and Edwards. I think it's called The Science of Behavior, Science of People, how to understand people better. And it said that in one of the last chapters, it says that, what Oprah Winfrey says, the one true nature that every human wants deep down is they want to feel relatable.
Yeah.
They want to have a group of people. They feel like, this is us. Like, we are part of this thing. One thing I know, entrepreneurship is a very lonely game. You and I both get it. It's such a lonely game where you struggle a lot. It's a lot of struggling. And sometimes it's good to know that, hey, this person struggled the same way and he made it. So when you see that, you're like, what? I just have to stick it a bit further. Like, I swear, if I had a good friend called Ugo, and this was in my early years where everything was going down. Everything was bad, negative. Everywhere I see it's red. My finance guy saw my books. He closed the books like, Fahad quit. My finance guy said, look, Fahad quit. It's I got a job offer for like $10,000 to $15,000 per month in the UK. And at that time, I was making peanuts. I think less than $1,000. I was like, Fahad, quit. Go take the job. I'm like, heck no. He said, do it. And he said, I'm going to quit as well because I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But maybe you are right. So I was at that point where I was considering quitting. And then I talked to this friend of mine called Ugo. I was just having a coffee chat and I told him, like, bro, I'm probably going to quit. And he's like, Fahad, stop. It's not a matter of if you will make it, but it's a matter of when. Your main objective is to keep trying until you get there. So keep trying different things and you are going to make it. If you really try, you're going to make it. But the timeline, you don't know if it's going to be 5 years, 10 years. That's why you gotta enjoy what you're doing. And you just have to stick it for the long term until you make it work. And that shifted a perspective in me where I realized that, he is right. You just keep going until you get there. And once you get there, it's all good. But it's that process, yeah? And if he didn't tell me that, I'd be like, what, I should have quit. But because he told me that, I started seeing all these patterns with all the top entrepreneurs. Like, you just have to, it's the long-term game. As long as you play this game long enough, you're going to get lucky.
Yeah.
So, stuff like that, you want to hear from someone. I had the privilege of having a good friend who told me that. But how many people quit before they even heard that from a good friend?
Yeah.
And the thing is, most of them are not open because they have egos. They're not open to say, hey, I'm struggling, I'm failing. I didn't have that, fortunately. So I just told him, like, bro, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. And he was able to help me out with that. So, I want to more people like those to hear those harsh things. Motivating sounds a bit corny. I don't know what's the right word. Aspirational. At least I want them to hear the things that they have to hear so they can keep going. That's it.
It might be a bit more supportive. It might be a bit more, inspirational.
I think relatable content is what.
Yeah, relatable content and just another shoulder to cry on and another friend that can actually relate to what you're going through. I think that really is actually what I would love as well.
I guess so. Mama said I should marry for that. I don't need to do that. We got this. Okay.
Okay, Fahad, I'd like to then chat about, what are we doing here? And from my side, I do also want to answer the question around why. And you actually hit on it as well. It is important for me to be able to then inspire a new generation of leaders. And I care a lot about that conversation. And I will be going into that conversation in quite a bit of detail. And I look forward to those podcasts. But for now, we are aligned. We do want to work on something together. We also know that a lot of people are going through this experience and their stories should be heard. How are we going to do that?
We'll figure it out. Like, for example, we decided on this today. Now, we were talking about this last week, but we were not fully sure. We met today and like, we're like, screw it. If you blur it out, he's like, screw this, we do it. We started shooting. We didn't even decide the logo. The logo was created while you were talking. So that goes to show you how entrepreneurship is. You just jump in and you just figure it out along the way. And that's what we're trying to do.
100%. So I want to actually keep the audience so involved in the process that they were there as we figured out what type of content we're creating.
Bro, I get the feeling, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
From now, in Make It Work, we are invited to $1 billion summit.
I look forward to that.
Because when you think about it, so I swear, Dubai doesn't really have a good, the only guy I can think of is this one, I forgot what his name is. But I wish I knew him.
That's already an indicator.
Yeah, exactly. So there is nothing that's as popular as those US guys.
Yeah.
And this guy, he does mostly Arabic content.
Yeah.
He does a mix of English as well, but his is mixed. Like most of his is Arabic. I forgot. And this guy is very popular. He's like this 40, 35-year-old, 40-year-old who looks like a model. I'm like, how is this guy so old is not the right word. No, I'm just gonna offend that guy. That's why dude's fit. I think he's like a Vogue model who's like 45.
Yeah.
And how the hell is this guy 45 and does these things and podcast? He invites all the top entrepreneurs I've seen, I brought in Iman Gachi, all these top CEOs. He will bring them in, have a chat. But the thing is, it's mostly Arabic and it's not as popular as these Western guys. And I never see in a podcast podcast where it's just two guys just hitting it off and talking to a host, because you always have the perspective of one guy.
Yeah.
Two is always better than one.
It's so nice because look, the thing is, you really underestimate the value of a fresh voice, and I've been iterating on this point for a while now. Whether it is with my consulting team, or whether it is with my entrepreneurial team, or whether it is with a client or with an investor, when you are pushing a specific narrative, and it's so difficult when you are coming from a technical angle and you try to translate that to a non-technical audience, and the way you frame it might have been incorrect, and it might be difficult for the audience to understand your point. So even if someone just comes in with a fresh voice to just reiterate on the same point, you won't even realize how valuable that is just for the audience or for any particular individual to understand or to actually get the point.
One more thing I'd like to address and add on to this is, one of the reasons I immediately jumped in and said yes, firstly is it aligns with the value that I have of having social impact, because the world's pretty messed up in and of itself, and it needs someone to push the narrative, and I says it's going to be corny, so I'm going to skip that.
It's fine, be corny. I will build off the corny. I'm not going to judge you. And if you judge him, you can click off right now.
Yeah, the main reason, I'm the kind of guy, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party. I just stick to my laptop and I put the work in, because I am working on my future.
Yeah.
I want financial freedom. That's my objective, financial freedom. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I get there. If I don't get there, I'll be happy knowing that I gave everything I can to at least get closer to my objective.
Yeah.
With that being said, when that happens, when you are that kind of person, the kind of people that are into that is so rare, it's so small, the circle is so small, it's insanely hard for you to find those people. So for me, the only time I get is during Sunday. I purposefully shut everything off so at least I can recharge. And oftentimes I'm in groups where they do party, they smoke. Like, today they invited me to this desert camp, and my friend is like, Father, you have to come in. No offense to them, I love them. They drink, they smoke, they dance. And one of my friends was like, how they can go to these events, but know this, the more likely you are going to start doing those same things eventually. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
With give enough time frame, and you are going to get someone like them. Is that what you want? I'm like, no, and stop going there. And that's the reason why I said no to that critic. So I want people like me, the nerds that are into these things, have some sort of platform on Sunday that they can listen to and feel at home. I don't know if that's the right, but it sounds a bit corny, but you know what, this is what I want. That doesn't exist in the UAE. And eventually I want to branch this off as a community where we conduct this big stadium or some sort of event, and we do this podcasting together. Audience is there, they can ask questions, bring the host in. How beautiful is that?
It'll be so cool.
And they get to network with people like that. How amazing is that? That's the goal here, and creating the community that I remember this fun conversation I had with my friend Ugo again. He's like, Fahad, you want people like that? I said yes. Does that exist? I told him no, it doesn't exist. That's the reason why I'm hanging out with these guys. And he's like, stop doing that, because you're gonna turn out like them. Doesn't seem nice. Like, you're gonna start smoking, start drinking, partying, shitting out. It's good and all, but that's not you. It's gonna stop you from getting closer to your goal. So he told me, then create a system like that where you can find people like this. I'm like, I don't know if I got the time, bro. I don't know if I put in the effort, but I need it, because I know if I won't have it eventually, my goal to getting to where I am is going to be jeopardized. So that's why I wanted to build something like this. And when I met Abdullah and we started talking, we immediately hit it off. I'm thinking, this guy, I have to talk to him. And then I think this is the third time we're meeting, and we already have a podcast together.
So crazy, it proved that I work fast, but also it's when you are
Goal of a good entrepreneur. Work quick. Yeah,
100%. But when you are both looking for the same thing, and immediately when you realize that this person actually meets the criteria for the type of person that I would like to have a longer conversation with, and I would like to see if we can build something together, regardless of whatever we ended up building together, I was keen on working with Fahad. That's it. I think it's a very difficult skill to hone, and I look forward to dissecting that a bit more as well. How do you actually then make a split-second decision and actually convert? But for now, on this conversation here, I would love to actually see how far we can take this and actually build a community that does feel like a community. It does actually allow this conversation to become a normal conversation, not something that's taboo and difficult for people to actually have. Okay.
I'm excited, bro. I really am. The main thing I'm excited about is not this. Of course, this is amazing. At least I get to, if we do this every weekend, we're having interesting conversations.
Yes.
I love
and we then already have like a schedule of people, of guests to bring in, and we can do like, okay, fine, we book this place for like 4 hours. We do 2 hours for podcast where we bring a guest in and we don't waste their time, obviously. We have everything ready, but before then we do 2 hours of actual just footage or recording for like whatever else we need to do. Then by the time the guest arrives, we have everything ready to pull the trigger.
Fun weekend, we get to recharge.
Exactly. And
amazing.
Frankly put, honestly, after the struggles of the week, etc., I would look forward to this. I wouldn't find this to be a chore or like work.
That's what I want for the people watching as well. Is that they look up to, like, I remember when I was watching Diary of the CEO. Often, not now. I don't know why it happened, but back in the day, like few months back, I looked forward to all his episodes. Like, I know this is launching in this day because he asks dude puts in the effort. Like, I remember he has these buttons under him, and his teams is looking, and they skip, they ask the questions, they quickly research when he presses the button. He's talking about something, they quickly research, then they give it to him. I always find that amazing.
That's it.
We have to.
Oh my God.
That guy. I hope we get to invite that guy.
That would be a dream.
The funny thing is, our first name was Daddy of the Clueless CEO because they were both clueless, and my objective was to, because our target audience is clueless CEOs.
Yeah.
Clueless CEOs, founders, Gen Zs who are into these things, so they get to learn from. So I thought it was such a funny name, but Coffee After Hours is the one. So that's the name that we went with. So it's good to bring that guy in, but I think we'll get there. But the main thing is community. It's gonna be so much fun. There is no community like this in Dubai, at least that I know of. And I'm the guy who's aggressively in meetups, all these events to find such interesting places, but I never get to find these things. And I often get sucked into these wrong communities. I don't want that to happen.
I want an authentic feel, and I want this community to feel like it is getting that authentic value of just a shared experience. And that's what we'll try to work on, and what we'll try to pull together.